Started. My name is Dahlia Wassner, and I am the director of the Brandeis Initiative on the Jews of the Americas. I also am so proud to be a board member of LACHSA, and in that capacity, we are expanding our activities and expanding what we offer to our members, and that includes collaborations with archives, with museums, with other organizations that have done incredible work in Latin America and that are rich troves of information. And in that capacity, we're also LACHSA is partnering with the Brandeis Initiative and also with ASSJ to host a workshop at Brandeis that will happen in May, May 7th and 8th, that is dedicated to understanding the relationship between Jewish immigrants, local Jewish communities, and international Jewish organizations throughout Latin America and the Caribbean and the US, so throughout the Americas. And to that end, we are so lucky to have Isabelle Rohr from JDC Archives here. I will let Adriana introduce her in just a moment. And the purpose of today's meeting is to give us a little bit of an insider view as to what the richness of the JDC Archives can offer researchers and scholars. So Adriana, I'll pass it on to you.
So welcome everybody. I am Adriana Brodsky, one of the co-presidents of LACHSA. As Dahlia said, we're very excited about this new initiative that has a lot of members of the LACHSA board working on, and we're extremely happy to have Isabelle Rohr initiate concretely this new work that we're hoping to increase in the next few years. So Isabelle Rohr is the manager of academic programs and outreach at the Archives of the American Jewish Joint Distribution Community, JDC, or as people in Latin America called it, El Joint. She plans, manages, and promotes JDC Archives academic and public programs, which include public lectures, film screenings, academic workshops, and conference panels. She also oversees the JDC Archives fellowships and film grant programs that I hope she will let us know more about for everybody to learn and apply. She has a BA in International Relations and an MA in History from Tufts University, as well as a Master's of International Affairs from Columbia University. She obtained a PhD in International History from the London School of Economics in May 2006. Isabelle is a published author, and some of her works include the book The Spanish Right and the Jews, Anti-Semitism and Opportunism, published by Sussex University Press in 2007, and a variety of articles on the Jews of Morocco and Spain, and even the use of anti-Semitism during the Spanish Civil War. So we're very, very happy for Isabelle to join us and to get us started. Isabelle?
Thank you. Thank you for this introduction. And thank you also to Dahlia for getting all of us together. I am going to be sharing my screen with you now and telling you a little bit more about the presentation. Okay, can everyone see the screen? Yes? Yeah. So before I start my presentation, I kind of want to tell you a little bit what I'm going to talk about so that you know where we're heading. I'm going to say a very brief word about the JDC Archives and JDC itself, and a little bit about our history in the region. Then I will discuss the type of material that you can find in our archives, how to find it, and how to conduct research in our database. So first things first, a quick word about JDC Archives. So we hold the records of the JDC since the organization was created over 100 years ago. JDC, as Adriana says, stands for the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee, also known as the Joint or Joint. And it's the leading Jewish humanitarian organization. It was created over 100 years ago. It has operated in 90 countries since 1914, including throughout Latin America. So JDC has been active in Latin America roughly since the 1930s, especially as, now I'm trying to move, sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to, my mouse has the, oh, there we go. So JDC has been active in the region since the 1930s as Latin America and the Caribbean became a refuge for Jews escaping Nazi Germany. JDC provided assistance to local refuge organizations throughout the region to facilitate the integration of refugees and also to help them migrate to other countries. And I don't know if you see entirely everything on my on this screen. I'm not sure if you see the caption, but on the left is a photo that was taken in the Dominican Republic, where we established the Dominican Republic Settlement Association, which was an agricultural settlement for refugees. And on the right, you can see a photo that was taken in Cuba in 1940s, where JDC funds were used to place Jews in the diamond industry, which was a growing field. We also had programs in Bolivia, Brazil, Ecuador, and elsewhere. And on the left, you can see a photo of an agricultural settlement in Bolivia, again, funded where JDC provided funds. And on the right, you can see a photo of the children summer colony in Brazil and in 1943. JDC's assistance continued in the post-war period. We assisted existing communities in the region in absorbing new immigrants from North Africa, Middle East, Eastern Europe. And since the 1980s, we are providing technical assistance, consultation, leadership training to local communities, especially Argentina, Brazil, and Chile. And we also played an important role with the Jewish communities during the financial crisis of the year 2000, where we developed a large network of relief programs in partnership with local organizations. So that's for the quick part on the history. Let's now get to the bulk of the presentation, the type of material in the collection. So what kind of material we have in the JDC collection? So we have material from 1919 to 1989 that is processed and available for researchers. I'm going to start with the documents, what we call the text documents. So those text documents include a number of type of documents. We have country reports, we have also field reports. Here I'm sharing an example of a field report. This is a field report that was written in 1955 about the Jewish community in Belém in Brazil. And it's very rich. It's about JDC was trying to figure out what were the prospects for Jewish immigrants from North Africa in the region. So the report gives a description of the community in Belém. We learned that it was founded by immigrants from Morocco in the 19th century. And as a result of this, the community is very willing to receive immigrants from North Africa. In addition to those kind of field reports, we also have a passengers list. We have list of aid recipients, and here you can see a list of refugees going from Europe to Mexico, to Veracruz in Mexico during the war. You have information about, you have their names, their age, the port of embarkation. So the ship went from Lisbon to Casablanca, and then to Mexico. Those kind of lists are particularly useful to family researchers, genealogists, but can also certainly be used by other type of researchers. The text documents also includes correspondence. So we have internal correspondence, so correspondence between, field representatives and headquarters, for instance. We also have correspondence between JDC and other organizations. These tend sometimes to be a bit dry, and we're lucky to also have some correspondence from aid recipient. And here's an example of that. It is a letter from a refugee in La Paz, Bolivia, writing in 1940 and talking about the rise of anti-Semitism in Bolivia, which was ignited by the German embassy there. So as you can see from the letter says the embassy gives food to 50 indios a day, tries to they are trying to ignite anti-Semitism. It also says a lot about the refugees' own views of the local population. It says these Indios are dirty and cultivated. So it's very unfiltered and very rich in detail. So we do have those kind of documents as well in the archives. So in addition to the text document that researchers tend to be more familiar with, we have oral history interviews. And this is something that many people don't know. It's somewhat hidden and a little bit underused. So those oral history interviews are interviews of JDC staff, and those interviews were conducted between 1960 to the present. And not all staff have been interviewed, but we have many interviews. And those interviews complement very well the text collection because it includes information about the staff members' background and their perception. So it's very subjective. And here is an interview of Harold Traub, who was a representative in Latin America in the 1960s. What Traub tells us in this interview is his own perception of the Latin American Jewish community's attitude towards immigrants, towards Jewish immigrants. So, it says the others, first he says that the German Jewish communities are willing to welcome immigrants, and then it says the others tend to feel that refugees should not come to Latin America, but that they should go to Israel, and they are reluctant to provide any assistance. So in this particular excerpt, he basically says that because they are so Zionist, the Latin American Jews are not that willing to welcome immigrants. This is the kind of comments you don't necessarily find in the text collection. It's a bit more unfiltered. And this, I will talk a little bit more afterwards about how to access. These are not directly accessible. You need to order those transcripts, ask us for them. In addition, we also have a very rich photo collection from, I would say, the 1930s to the 2000s. We have photos of communities throughout the region. So here on the left, you can see a refugee family boarding from Uruguay to Paraguay. In the middle, there's the photo of the first bar mitzvah in Havana, in Cuba, in 1994. And on the right, you can see Jewish settlers doing agricultural work in the Dominican Republic. I also want to mention something else that not many people are aware of. We have a rich artifact collection. We don't have that much about Latin America, but we have very interesting material. And one example is our Dorsa logbook. The Dorsa logbook details the life of settlers in the Dominican Republic, in the Dominican Republic agricultural community. So the logbook includes information on logistics, labor. In one entry, the number of pigs, donkeys, horses is listed. In another entry, there's information about sanitation and diet. So again, this is another type of resource that really complements the text collection. So now that I've gone through the type of material we have in our archives, I kind of want to tell you a little bit on how to access them. We've just created the resource guide for you. This is not all comprehensive. We've just started it, so it's a starting point. And the resource guide is an entry point to the collection. It's not the only entry point, but it's an entry point to the collection. It lists the material we have in the document collection, in the photo collection, and in the oral history collection. So let me start with the document collection. First, a quick word about the way our collections are organized. As you can see here, it says records of the New York headquarters. Basically, our collections are arranged by global office where the record was created. So when you see New York headquarters, it means that record was created in New York. Someone from we received that letter in New York. Within those collections, there are 4 sub-collections. So there are always 4 sub-collections. I mean, there are some exceptions, like Dorsa Records is one exception. But in general, we have 4 sub-collections in every collection. And it's countries and regions, which lists the countries and the regions where we were working. Administration, which is really about JDC's administration. So there you will find minutes of board meetings, for instance. Another sub-collection is organization. So this is the work of JDC's with other organizations, so with HIAS, with UN organizations. And the 4th one is subject matters. So you would find, depending on the years, but you would find as subject matters, displaced person, health, and I don't know, refugees, anti-Semitism. There is overlap between the collections and between the sub-collections. So you might find the same document in several places. From our resource guide, you should be able to access directly what you're looking for, or at least what is listed here. So let's say that, for instance, you are a researcher working on Mexico in the 1920s, and you will see that in our New York headquarters, in our sub-collection, we have material on Mexico. If you click on the countries and regions sub-collection on the link, you will be able to access the Mexico folder that is online and accessible. Most of the documents, most of the material that's listed in the document collection in the resource guide is accessible directly online from the resource guide, and that resource guide is on our website. There is one exception, and this is the 1933-1944 collection. The material is digitized, it is accessible, but you need to ask us for login, for some special login to access it online. We are in the process of opening those records, 1933, 1944. And where the first records from that group that will be open to the public are the records on Latin America and the Caribbean, because you guys are our favorites, what can I say? So in the coming month, the records on Latin America and the Caribbean in the 33-44 collection will be entirely accessible without the need for login. But in the meantime, if this is what you're interested in, please get in touch. We can help you access it remotely. The resource guide also includes material we have in our photo collection related to Latin America. We have created photo galleries, and those photo galleries are really focused on our work in different countries during World War II. Again, if you click on one of those links, you are able to see all the photos in the photo galleries. We've also located the different interviews in the oral history collection that deals with Latin America. And as I mentioned earlier, those are not accessible, and they can be, you can ask for a transcript by contacting us via the online form. If you see, I mean, the difficulty here is that you don't necessarily know who was doing what. We just list the name. So unless you're familiar with that name, you're like, wait. There are not that many names in that collection. And my advice is that, you know, go to the sub-collection themselves, you know, that James Rosenberg worked in Latin America. If you click on the sub-collection, you will be able to find James Rosenberg, and you will be able to see where in Latin America he was working and what he was doing, and see if this could be of interest to you. And the most recent oral history that we've done was with Alberto Sandere. We just did this interview, and he worked throughout the 1990s. So basically, in the oral history collection and in the photo collection, we have information about Latin American communities that is not yet open in our text collection. So that's also something to keep in mind, that, you know, sometimes through a photo or through an oral history, you might have information that you wouldn't get elsewhere. Also, on our resource guide, you can find a link, you can find the list of recordings of all the webinars we've had that deal with the region. So far we have 3, and we are currently starting a series on Jewish communities in Latin America and the Caribbean in the 20th century. So this list should become much longer in the coming months. Okay, so now that I have kind of explained what type of material that we have, I've said a word about our resource guide. I want to tell you a little bit about conducting research in the database. And I want to point out something about the resource guide. We're still working on it. It's not comprehensive. It's a starting point. You're not going to find everything you need just by looking at the resource guide. You will need to do research probably on the database. So let's go to the database. And the database is on our, I hope, am I still sharing the screen with you? Can you stay at the website? So our database is located on our website.
No,
Isabelle, I think you have to switch your, we're seeing still the slides, not the website.
I have to stop sharing probably and resharing, right?
Exactly.
Okay, sorry about that. So this is the JDC Archives website, and the database is here where my mouse is hovering. Of course, you can go direct, you can save the database address, which is search.archives.jdc.org. Maybe I will copy this and put it in the chat. So let me do that as I'm so you can save that, and that will make your research all the way all the more fast. So one way to conduct search in the database is to go through hierarchical browsing, and this allows you to view the collection the way it was physically arranged. From the collection level to the sub-collection, through the record groups, through the series, to the document themselves. And I'm going to use an example, and I'm going to use that example throughout. Let's imagine that I'm a researcher working on Jewish immigration in Mexico, specifically in the 1920s. And let's see how to do it. So you would click on hierarchical browsing, and hopefully this will work. And these are the collections. So remember, with the name of the different offices where the record was created. So you can see that the 1919 to 1921 New York collection and the 1921-1932 New York collections are probably the collections that where your material is located. If you click on the plus sign, it will take you to the sub-collection level. As you might remember, I told you that every collection has 4 sub-collections: countries and regions, administration, organization, subject matter. And logically, you would want to look at whether we have material on Mexico in the countries and regions. So again, click on the plus sign. Hopefully that should work. Yes. Scroll down, and there is Mexico. So if you click on the plus sign here, you see a description of the content on that file. So you can see that the file has material on fugitives, refugees stranded in Mexico and believe that they could immigrate to the US. If you click on additional details, you are able to see the entire folder. Oh, sorry, I clicked. If you look inside, you see the entire folder. All the documents are listed. If you click on the title of a document, and I have to tell you that the titles are not perfect. The database is far from being perfect. We're working on making it a little bit better. But if you click on one of those titles, you will get the information about the document. You will see that this is a letter from Albert Lucas to the JDC in Paris. You can see the folder, Mexico 1921, and you have access to the PDF file in the folder. So if you click on this, there goes your document. And if you go back to the description of your document, you can go back to the folder. So the hierarchical browsing goes 2 ways. You can go down, 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 but you can also go further up. You can go back to your folder level. And again, if we click this, we have the folder, and you look inside and you have, again, the list of documents. So hierarchical browsing is a way to do it. Another way to do it for those who are impatient or who want more specific, who are looking for more specific items, is to do an advanced search. I'm not sure if you see what I'm doing here where my mouse is, but make sure to select advanced search on the database. And on the right, you will see that you have a choice of collection. We're doing a text collection search, so make sure to select the correct collection. And where you have a search profile here, make sure to select as well the text collection. What is nice about the advanced search is that you can do a full text search, which basically will pull the words or names you are searching for in a specific document. So it's something that people, myself, like a lot. So let's say that we want to do immigrants, and with typos, won't get, and Mexico. So if we leave it to this, we're going to find every document that mentions immigrants and Mexico in our entire collection. So that's not recommended. And also remember that it's not necessarily in the same sentence. You could have a sentence about Mexico and a sentence about immigrants in Poland. So you would have to narrow it down at least a little bit more. And I'm going to narrow it down by date. As I said, I'm interested in looking at the material we have on immigrants in Mexico during the 1920s. So I'm going to do a very simple search, January 1920 to December 1929. And search. And remember to use "and" in capital letter when you want combination of words. So this pulled 41 documents. And as you scroll through them, I would say look a little bit at the name of the folders that came up. This is important. And the second document in particular, you can see that this folder is Mexico. So you would think that that document is probably really relevant to your research. Again, if you click on the name, on the title of the document, you can see what archivists call the metadata, which is all the information about the documents, and you have access to the PDF file. And this is a document from Louis Marshall, one of the founder of JDC, and it talks about the growth of destitute immigrants in Mexico City in 1921. This is a time when the United States had curtailed immigration of Jews to the United States. So many Jews went to the some Jews went to Mexico to enter the United States, and some of them were trying to do it illegally and were actually detained in Texas. So there you have found a document that's obviously relevant to your research. If you go back to the information about your document, again, you can access the entire folder. Click on it, and we are exactly, by the way, in the same folder that we found through the hierarchical browsing. So basically, those different ways of researching should bring you a lot of the same information. And if you look inside, you see all the items in the folder. I want to show you a little trick that I personally quite like. And I need to go back to that information about that document. Every one of our documents has an item ID. And sometimes people don't really know, they see the folder with all the documents listed and they're like, oh gosh, this is so confusing. I don't know, I just want to find what comes after this interesting letter. So the way to do it is to copy the item ID number. And I'm just going to do a simple Control-C. Go back to the advanced search. So you see the item ID number here is 221983. You go back to the advanced search and you search all field, except that you go from 3 to 4. So you have your next document in that folder. Hopefully. Yes. So this is, so the next document is this telegram from Sydney Tedeschi to the HIAS. And obviously the same trick works down. You can put those number, you know, from 83 to 82. We also have finding aids. The finding aids can be found, you can access them directly through the website or from the database. The finding aids in many ways are similar to the hierarchical browsing. And I just want to show you, so if you click on the left, you will access the finding aid on our website. And to access the sub-collections, you need to go to arrangement. Oops. You have a description here of the collection. And again, you see those 4 sub-collections. And if you click on countries and regions, you should be able to find the relevant record group on Mexico and access it again directly. So, I mean, basically, there are different ways to access the document in our collection. I would say that when you start your research, hierarchical browsing and finding aids are helpful. If you're looking for very specific items, probably advanced search is a better feature. And again, you look inside. I just want to also show you how to search for photos in our collection, because I know that many researchers like to use photos for their presentation, their publications, and other reasons. Again, you go back to advanced search, make sure you select photo collection here on the right and here above, photo collection. Again, let's say you want to see what we have on Argentina in the, I don't know, the 1990s, right? So you would enter decade 1990, photo location Argentina. And you have about 83 photos. And the first one is of Rosine Wolf, the wife of Milton Wolf, who I believe was JDC's president at the time, and she's looking at the damage of the Jewish Community Center in Buenos Aires, and you have the name of the photographer as well. And I mean, the trick with the item ID number also sometimes works with, you know, with the photo. You can see the photos that comes after or before, but in the case of the photo collection, it's much less confusing because you see the little icon and you can figure out whether the photos follow each other. But again, here you have some information. The date is 1994. The documents are not available yet. So, you know, you have a little bit of information about the Jewish community or JDC in Argentina during that period that you wouldn't necessarily see that's not available in our text collection. I think these are basically the main things I wanted to tell you about the database. I also want to mention before I finish two things. One is that we offer fellowships to enable scholars to conduct research in our archives. It's about 6 fellowships a year, and it's scholars at basically any level, from PhD to more senior scholars. And we will open applications probably in November, and also we're doing this workshop with LACSA and with Brandeis Initiative, and we hope to see many of you there. We hope you can use our database. Please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm going to share again my screen. My information is there if you want to take it down. And let me, yeah, oops, of course not. Well, I will share my information through the screen, through the chat, but please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to meet with people remotely to help you with your specific research, if you have questions, if you have issues or anything else. And we also have a general contact. We have a general contact request form that you can also use if you prefer.
Okay, yes, Isabelle, that was so helpful and informative, and it's wonderful to understand better the great resource that the JDC Archives are to all of us. And we do have some questions in the chat for you. And if anybody who's listening wants to still add, we have a few minutes of time, so please do add them to the chat. The first question is, are all the material concerning Latin America in the New York office, or are there other offices that would also contain files or materials having to do with Latin American countries?
That's a great question. So, I mean, I only saw, so basically I showed you a screenshot of the resource guide, and this is the first page of the resource guide. So everything you saw was New York office, but we have a lot in the Geneva office as well. So Geneva was our global headquarters for a number of years. And if you look at the resource guide, it also lists for the countries and regions sub-collection what is covered. And maybe, maybe I can, maybe I should try to go back to the website and try to show you what I'm talking about. Sorry, I'm trying to find. Of course, when you look for something, you don't necessarily find what you're looking for, but finding aids. Sorry, our website is okay. So I am in the finding aids. Finding aid. The resource guide is on our finding aid page, by the way. So I just kind of want to show you how it looks like on the website itself. I think it will be much more useful. If I can share my screen with you again. Yeah. So this is the resource guide on Latin America and the Caribbean. And again, as I said, it's not all comprehensive. For instance, we know that we have information about Latin America in our organization sub-collection, and we're just starting this. We know that we have some information in the New York headquarters, in the organization sub-collection, in the intergovernmental record group, because one researcher just did that research, so that came to my attention. As you can see, we have a lot of information in the Geneva headquarters, 1945, 1954, and again, the same thing applies. If you see that you're interested in Chile, if you click on countries and regions sub-collection, you should be able to access the material about Chile in the sub-collection of the Geneva headquarters. Again, here, Geneva headquarters, Geneva headquarters. The 1965, 1978, not everything is accessible either. It's digitized. It's not yet digitized. It has been processed, but it's not yet digitized. So if you are interested in seeing this, please contact us. For every collections, you can see whether it's available or whether you need to contact us.
Okay, great. Thank you, Isabelle. Another question is about publishing rights. So say that we're researching and we find these incredible documents and we want to include something like that in a publication. Is there a fee to include a document? Obviously, we would, cite any reference, but if one wants to publish a digital version, say, of a document, is there a fee for that?
So I'm lucky to have the director of JDC Archives on the call with me today, Abby Lester. So if I say anything incorrect, Abby, please correct me. But I don't think we charge anything to use our documents, but we do charge to use photos. It depends case by case, there are different cases, depends, but photos in publication, I would say in general, we charge, but photo documents in publications, we do not charge. There are specific way to cite us, and this you can find in our finding aid. It tells you exactly how we should be cited. It's always the same way, but it is in every finding aid. You will see citing preference or something like that. And I would say that now that the documents are digitized, it is nice to include the item ID number so that the researcher after you can easily find that item in our collection.
Great. Thank you, Isabelle. Another question, is there a more detailed catalog on the oral history collections?
I don't know what the more detail refers to. I don't know if the person who asked that question thinks that the list we basically have a finding aid for the oral history collection, and that finding aid is on our website. So we have, I believe, 8 sub-collection within the oral history collection, and for these, and again, maybe if I share my screen, since I've been doing this again. I want to show you something. You have more detailed information on the website for the oral history. So let me go back. Here we are again on the resource guide. Let's say that you want to know more information about what we have with regards to Laura Margolis. We have 2 interviews of Laura Margolis. If you click on the sub-collection, it's going to take you to detailed information about that sub-collection. It takes you basically to the finding aid of the oral history collection. You need to go to Herbert Katsky, and you need to find Margolis. You click again on the plus sign. It tells you who Laura Margolis was, that she was sent to Cuba, etc. So you have more detailed information. You kind of need to know in advance who is relevant to your research. Another way to do it, which is a little bit complicated, you can reach out to us as well to say, do you know if you have any oral history about Cuba in the 1940s? In this case, it's Laura Margolis. the information about each person is on the finding aid of the oral history collection.
Great. I think that we got the questions in the chat. Again, Isabelle, thank you so much. We have also your information if there's follow-up. It's wonderful to know also of the fellowships available. And I understand also in our previous conversations with both you and Abby that there is a really increasing interest in the Latin American archives of the JDC, which also prompted us to organize together this workshop. So it's nice to know of that growing interest in the community, and wonderful for LACSA members to be aware of this as an important resource that we can use going forward. So I don't know, Adriana, if you wanted to add anything else.
If I can just add one thing, is that once we start accepting application, we will send a notification through the LACSA's listserv, as we've done in the past, so that your audience is aware that we are accepting applications for the fellowships.
That's wonderful. And also sorry, just to add one more thing, I did post the link also to the specific workshop that we're talking about in May. Applications are due October 1st, and you are welcome to use the archives of the JDC and encouraged to do so, but it is not limited to people who have done so. So if you're researching a topic that has to do with this kind of triangular relationship between international organizations like the JDC, local Jewish communities, you're welcome to apply, and that due date is October 1st, and I did include that link on our chat.
Well, thank you again, Isabelle, for your time, for your expertise, for your willingness to give us an hour of your time to let everybody know of the wonderful resources that are available at the JDC. Abby, thank you for also allowing Isabelle to do this with us. Thank you, Dalia, and everybody else for just spending some time with us, learning what is out there for us to use in our own research. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.